Hey church family, Pastor Gary. How about some good news? It all started right here on this 4.5 acre site when it was purchased by First Baptist Church of Gainesville, Florida in 1957. That little group of people, they met up close to Newberry Road in what they called the White House. And they worked hard in the process of planting a church. On January 26, 1964, it officially became Westside Baptist Church. When I arrived in 1981, there was a small chapel right here, and it held about 200 people. And on that first Sunday, July 19, 1981, we had 91 in Sunday school and just a bit over 100 for worship. God greatly blessed during those 20 years on this property. We either built or remodeled 4 buildings. We grew to need 5 worship services and 3 Sunday schools. The Bible was always our final authority for faith and practice, and certainly it is today as well, always will be. The church family demonstrated great faith and hard work to allow God to do what He chose to do. We placed a strong emphasis on prayer. Prayer first was our consistent theme. There was a strong women's prayer ministry and a strong pastor prayer partner ministry that undergirded everything that we did. A prayer empowered our Sunday school growth. Prayer empowered us in evangelism so that God would use us to reach people for Christ. Over the years, we trained 600 in continuing witness training, the most of any church at that time in the Southern Baptist Convention, according to the North American Mission Board. And later, we trained even more, 615, in faith witness training. And we believed that training people to share their faith empowered them to do so, and that proved to be right. Prayer also empowered our missions to take the gospel globally under the theme, bringing the hope of Christ to all people. And at the end of the tenure, 34 years, we had teams on every continent. Hundreds of churches were planted among the unreached people groups in 60 countries. Yes, so much happened on this piece of property over 20 years. And I am so grateful for what God chose to do, so grateful for a people so full of faith and spiritual vitality and hard work. God was so gracious to us all. You want to hear another God-sized story? The Long Range Planning Committee looked at 19 different pieces of property for relocation. The one that we felt the Lord wanted us to have was this 34-acre site here, but the owner said it's not available, no way. And so one day, 2 members of the committee, Dan Malton and Joe Smith, we met here at this exact area to pray and to ask God to open up this piece of property for us if that was His will for Westside Baptist Church. And we prayed, and to the amazement of us all, God made this piece of property available. We purchased it, and then we began the process of relocation. On October 20th, 2001, one day before we were to have our first worship service here on this new property, 700 people marched from the old site to the new site, 3.82 miles or 10,000 steps. And my late wife, Frida, who had undergone 2 stem cell transplants for multiple myeloma, she was able to walk with her beloved church family. And so we were led by our deacons, rotating, carrying the cross. It was a wonderful experience as God's people moved from the old site in which He had so blessed ministry to the new site in which He would do the same as well. On that first Sunday, we had right at 2,000 people in worship, and we had 1,100 attending our Bible study classes. 2006, we opened our Family Life Center 5 years after relocation. Adam Langston has been with us from early on for this recreational ministry. He has served our church family and community so very well, and we're so appreciative of that. Now, are you excited about future growth? Well, the master plan provides for additional buildings of a worship center here, but it's now serving as a parking lot. And then across the property, there are other possibilities for ministry in the future as well. And I'm sure God's going to continue to be mightily at work through this church family for the years to come. When Frida passed in 2009, the church family was so gracious in establishing the Prayer Memorial Garden in her name. And also, as pastor emeritus, the church was very gracious in naming the prayer chapel after me as pastor. And so the door from the prayer chapel walks directly into the prayer garden. It's just been a real joy to see people there across the years praying, to see weddings take place there, to see fellowship and friendship happening there in the memorial garden, and just people sitting in silence and spending some time with the Lord. That's been a real joy, I think, for our entire church family, and we're so grateful for that. A few days ago, I was rereading the 50-year history book of Westside. As I read about the work of God in and through the church family, I sat stunned, just amazed. And actually, I wept tears of joy and gratitude for the showers of blessing that the Lord placed upon us. I'm so very grateful for the people who were so full of faith, who gave so generously, who worked so hard. They were the heartbeat. They are the heartbeat of Westside Baptist Church. The cost was great, but the glory of God was greater. Over the years, the Lord created a spiritual environment that allowed people to hear God's call, not only in relationship to Him, as in salvation, but His call to vocational mission, our ministry. And over these years, 150 plus persons were called into vocational ministry or missions. And some of them are still serving Westside today. Others of them are spread out around the country and around the world. We always had a focus on leadership development, feeling that developing leaders, training leaders were at the heart of accomplishing the mission of the church. And so we're so grateful for those who have engaged leadership and who are engaging leadership right now on behalf of Westside Baptist. On a personal note, I would like to thank you for providing a wonderful environment and helping us raise our two children, Krista and John. In fact, Krista was the first person that I baptized when I became pastor at Westside. She was 7, John was 5. And you know, our children had the opportunity of growing up and seeing faith at work, both locally and globally. They grew up, they never saw a church fight. In spite of all the mega decisions that we made, they saw a church family loving God and loving one another. And we're so grateful for that kind of church home, church family, in which our children and our grandchildren could be raised in and benefited from. Thank you so very much. And now we're celebrating 60th anniversary. It's so hard to believe. It's been 10 years since Pastor David has become our pastor. And I'm excited about the faces that I see there, folks who've been a long time at the helm, and then so many new faces. And I'm excited about the new Christian school. And I will be praying for a strong start and a soon start. I know that will be yet another way that our church can minister to our families and to our community. The Westside Church family will always be embedded in my heart and in my prayer. I really regret not being able to be with you on this special occasion, but I can't be today, but I do send my love and my prayer. Thank you, church family, for praying for Ingrid and I as we lead Global Missions 365. now with 16 partnerships in 8 countries. We have been in 35 churches in 17 countries on mission. And your continued prayer, we value, and we so appreciate your prayer for us as we seek to continue in ministry. And just a closing word, church family, love, that is choosing to do what is in the best interest of the other person, as Christ did for us. Love always puts us in the best possible position to be used by the Holy Spirit to nurture our faith and our church family and our mission. And then working together in love opens the door for many possibilities. And so it's been a joy to work with a people who loved well and who served well. And we're so grateful for that opportunity. Thank you, Pastor David and church family, for allowing us a moment to be a part of this very special occasion. We send our love. Hey, church family, how about some good news? The best is yet to come.